Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, friends. It's time for a little Star Trek, the original series, specifically the 23rd episode of the second season, The Omega Glory. Now, full disclosure, friends, I was over on Paramount Plus and I saw the thumbnail for this one, and lo and behold, there staring back at me was one of my very favorite guest stars from ages past in season one. No spoilers in case you don't know who it is, but I can tell you this, one of my top three guest stars seemingly makes an appearance or a reemergence here. I'm assuming is somebody different. Friends, before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel and it allows me to alert you next time we go live with Star Trek the original series or any of our sci-fi content. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like early or in its full-length format, the link to our Patreon is in the description, my friends. But all that is then and this is now, and now it's time to revisit an old friend as we watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 23, The Omega Glory. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. And away we go! Oh my God, look at that beauty! Sulu? Yes! My guy.
Another vessel in planet orbit, Captain.
Really?
Long-range sensor scan, Mr. Sulu.
I love that scope.
The Exeter.
Exeter.
She was patrolling in this area 6 months ago. I hadn't heard of any trouble.
Is it Constitution class?
Lieutenant, have Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, and Lieutenant Galway report to the transporter room.
Lieutenant Galway?
We're locked onto the Exeter's engineering section, Captain.
Lasers on heavy stun.
Heavy stun.
Energized.
Galway, place your bets, everybody. Lieutenant Galway, the red shirt, is going on a landing party. I mean, is it 50-50? I love this show.
Just the uniforms left.
As if they were in them when...
Exactly.
Let's get out of here. Is it like salt? We've had salt taken from people before. Way back when, right, Plum? Jim's going to tell us about the final frontier while we speculate into this, the Omega Glory. You know what? I'm going to take a second, everybody. I don't think I've said this enough recently. I have absolutely adored season 2. Season 1 was exceptional television. And I promised myself I would never compare the seasons because even though they're episodic, I like to kind of split them up. Otherwise, you know, you're sacrificing things that you kind of remember a little bit better. So I didn't want to sell anything short in season 1 by being, you know, comparing season 2 episodes to them. I probably eventually will. But again, I'm still not nearly as comfortable with this series as I'm sure many of you are. I've only ever seen each episode twice, once during watch and once during editing. So just to say, season 2 has been so much fun, friends. And I'm looking forward to this one. Well, the nacelles are Vincent McKevity, baby. Here we go. Vincent McKevity and a certain guest star. Oh, come on.
If there is, if you can hear me, please respond by intercom to the engineering section.
I'm loving this.
Only uniforms.
What about the shuttlecraft?
I like the echo. Makes it more ominous.
If they left, they didn't leave that way.
Transporter logs.
McCoy and I are going to the bridge. Meet us there.
NCC 1672.
What could have happened to him and the over 400 men and women who were on this ship?
Wow. Yeah, it's very disturbing.
Jim, the crew didn't leave. They're still here.
What do you mean?
They're this.
These white crystals, that's what's left of the human body when you take the water away, which makes up 96% of our bodies. Without water, we're all just 3 or 4 pounds of chemicals.
It's time to get out of here. I mean, it happened.
The last log entry, Captain.
Oh, boy.
You have one chance. Get down there. Get down there fast. Captain Tracy is...
Is his uniform by the chair? Awesome. Not awesome, but cool touch. Look at they've got different badges. They've got different, like, deltas. Is that something that happens? I didn't realize that does each ship have a different thing? Or is it like a different branch? The hell is going on here? Got a headsman's axe?
Put the axe away, Li Yang.
My guy.
That's Ron Tracy.
Morgan Woodward.
I knew someone would come looking for us. I'm just sorry it had to be you, Jim. I'm glad your arrival stopped this. No more of this, Wu. Lock up the savages.
Do we have like a Heart of Darkness situation here?
Hordes of them out there. They'll attack anything that moves.
Interesting that the villagers know about phasers.
Yep.
The villagers, the Combs here, were friendly enough once they got over the shock of my white skin. As you've seen, we resemble the Yangs, the savages.
Ron,
The landing party had taken an unknown disease back.
you seem pretty casual.
My entire crew gone.
Yes, I know we saw it.
And I'm just as infected as they were. There's some natural immunization that protects everyone on the planet's surface. I don't know what it is. You'll stay alive only as long as you stay here. None of us will ever leave this planet.
That's an absolute for a member of Starfleet. Absolutes.
A growing belief that Captain Tracy has been interfering with the evolution of life on this planet.
You think?
The Star Captain's most solemn oath is that he will give his life, even his entire crew, rather than violate the Prime Directive.
We know that's bullshit.
But something is immunizing us down here, thank heavens, or we'd have been dead hours ago.
I don't think we're going to have time to isolate everyone.
Rays coming in.
Some spores or pollen in the air, some chemical. Just finding it could take months, maybe even years. The infection resembles one developed by Earth during their bacteriological warfare experiments in the 1990s.
Yikes. We did a lot in the 90s.
The Yang Lance, Doctor.
What happened?
We were approximately 100 meters from the village when 5 of the savages ambushed us. We managed to escape without firing. Captain Tracy is being quite factual in several statements. 1, the Yangs are totally contemptuous of death. 2, he is also being factual in that the Yangs are massing for an attack.
Wow.
Captain Tracy's reserve belt packs, empty. Found among the remains of several hundred Yang bodies.
Wow.
Now, wait a minute. He lost his ship and his crew, and then he found himself the only thing standing between an entire village of...
The regulations are quite harsh, but they are also quite clear, Captain. If you do not act, you will be considered equally guilty.
Plum has a patient and an argument. We see which one he picked.
Now, why destroy what's left of the man by arresting him?
I agree that formal charges have little meaning now.
But they're peers. They're both captains.
I'll be sending the next message, Jim.
He's gonna kill you. Mother. Ooh, boy, here we go. Vincent McKevity loves himself some Morgan Woodward. He gets in those real close, intimate shots and lets that guy cook. Amazing.
They've been found unconscious, but I'm doing everything I can for them now.
Sir, this is Lieutenant Sulu in temporary command of the Enterprise.
Yes.
Since I've acquired some immunity, perhaps the others...
I understand, sir. When he regains consciousness, assure him that we have no problems here.
I'll contact you later, let you know of any future needs.
Look at that. Shadow. So good. So good. Damn, Jim's still down. Never mind.
That's enough of that, Captain.
I was waiting by the door.
Captain Ronald Tracy, as per Starfleet Command. Regulation 7, Paragraph 4.
I must now consider myself under arrest.
Oh, man.
No native to this planet has ever had any trace of any kind of disease.
Immortality is what you're after?
Wu is 462 years old.
Okay.
Are you grasping all it means? This immunizing agent here, once we've found it, is a fountain of youth, virtual immortality. When we're ready, we'll bargain for a whole fleet of ships to pick us up. And they'll do it.
Yes, I suppose they would.
Tracy, were you always crazy, or?
I'd say that's slightly more important than the Prime Directive. Wouldn't you, Jim?
Sure, yeah. Oh, Ron. Oh, he's got his own chop. Come on, Jim. It's a big sumbitch, but you got him. He's laughing. Oh, shit.
Guards,
Jim.
take the doctor back to his workplace. The point he did one stay.
You know he's a Vulcan, right?
Animals who happen to look like us. Still think the Prime Directives for this planet?
Yes.
Well, if logic won't work, perhaps this will. Put him in there.
Well, this will be fun. So Tracy's either like juiced up on immortality or he's a far better fighter than Jim. Because Jim's good. He seemed to be having fun, which is scary. Uh-oh. It's the fisticuffs music. Careful, Jim. Use that quick shit. Stick and move. This is not going to go well. Bite him. I mean, you're going to die. It's time to fight dirty. Oh, this motherfucker's standing up. Plum says, I can use this stylus or this. I needed some whiskey. Okay, enough. Come on, Jim.
Don't they have a rest?
Not that I have observed, Captain. Of course, should they wish to do so, one could always rest while the other keeps you occupied.
Can Spock reach through the cages and maybe pinch this guy? I mean, you got to be able to reach him, Jim. You can't fight here for eternity. Don't make any aggressive moves, dude.
At least tell me why you want to kill me.
Good, Captain. Try to reason with them.
Savage chops. Come on, Spock, can you reach? It looks like you could reach through there, Spock. My man. Oh, that was an interesting zoom.
Pity you can't teach me that.
I have tried, Captain.
I have tried, Jim. Oh, I've tried. Okay, well, they do have compassion for one another, so they're not, you know, mindless savages.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Plum, you've got work to do. Plum's like, I'm hungry and I'm not dead. I have grown to love McCoy so much.
Captain Tracy mentioned there was once a considerable civilization here. The only reasonable explanation would be a war.
So I would stand it that these savages are immortal too, right?
Keep working on the window if we're ever going to regain our freedom.
Freedom?
You recognize that word. I like the effect on the voice.
That is a worship word. Yang worship. You will not speak it.
Actually, I think that's his voice. No way. There's got to be some type of...
You live with the Combs.
Am I not now a prisoner of the Combs as you are?
I mean, logically, look at it, guys. Same cell. Come on, big man. He'll just rip this fucker right out.
You speak to Combs. They're only for killing.
Why? Start asking questions, Jim.
Mark! We'll have you out in a minute.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Captain,
I don't think you need all the bars out, bud.
Captain, are you able to respond?
Spock, you can, I mean, maybe get a little alerted here that there's a problem. Captain, can you respond? Captain, are you dead? Now Jim's massively concussed. And probably dog tired after having fought for 12 hours or however long they've been in here. But he's the captain of the Enterprise, everybody, and he's not done yet.
How long?
7 hours and 8 minutes, Captain.
Ballpark.
Spock. Keys.
We need a Pirates of the Caribbean this shit. Find a dog. Just the blue sleeved arm. So great. Great shot.
I'm convinced that once there was a frightening biological war that existed here. The virus still exists. Then over the years, nature built up these natural immunizing agents in the food, the water, and the soil.
Wow.
Tracy's of the opinion that these immunizing agents can become a fountain of youth. There are people here over 1,000 years old, Bones.
Because their ancestors who survived had to have a superior resistance. Then they built up these powerful protective antibodies in the blood during the wars.
It's not going to work for us.
Lengthen lives? Poppycock. I can do more for you if you just eat right and exercise regularly.
Poppycock, everybody.
That'll be sufficient, Mr. Spock.
Beam us up. Son of a...
No messages.
What's wrong, Tracy?
Kirk, the savage in the cell with you. Did you set him free? We killed thousands and they still came.
He'll live, but I'll have to get him to better facilities than this.
Morgan Woodward is amazing.
You can't carry the disease up to the ship with you.
He's fully immunized now. We all are.
We can beam up at any time. Any of us. There's no serum! There are no miracles! There's no immortality here! All this is for nothing!
Go, Bill.
Explain it to him, Doctor. Leave medicine to medical men, Captain. You found no fountain of youth here. People live longer here now because it's natural for them to.
Killed your whole crew, buddy.
Outside.
Fuck you.
Or I'll burn down both your friends now.
Okay, Plum, you heard that. You see what we're up against here. McCoy would stare down death until it blinked. He is fearless.
You're not just gonna stand there and let them kill you, are you? If I put a weapon in your hand, you'll fight, won't you?
We can beam up, Tracy. All of
Leave this.
No, 10. With 3 extra power packs each.
This is a Heart of Darkness type of thing. This is... He's gone. He's full apocalypse now.
Captain, this is Sulu. We read you, but surely you know that can't be done without verification.
Not even if we're in danger, Mr. Sulu?
Read what he's saying. We're in danger.
What is your situation?
The situation
It's grim.
is not immediately dangerous. Have the volunteers stand by. Kirk out.
You have a well-trained bridge crew, Captain. My compliments.
Let's try this again, dickhead. He can't shoot you. Bill Shatner. Bill Shatner said, you know what? I'm diving over this. I'm diving over that. Okay, he's obviously lost his mind because Tracy, what if you killed Jim? You don't get any of those phasers. Absolute insanity, because there's no logical reason to even continue this at this point. Why, hey. It's going to be out of a charge. He'll be out of charge. Hell yeah, let's do this. Be careful, Jim. Be careful here. Be careful. Tracy's no joke. Why, hi guys. One guy looks like a bearded Ryan Gosling. Oh my God, so are they like killing everybody in the village? Is Spock up? Okay.
My need for attention is vital, Doctor, but our need for departure is even more immediate.
Dear God.
Yanks? Spock?
Yankees.
Coolies. Communists.
What?
All these generations of Yanks fighting to regain their land.
You're a romantic, Jim.
Yeah. All right, big man. Big man drum.
That which is ours again. It will never be taken from us again.
For emphasis. Are you... What the... I'm going to need an explanation.
It can be handled, Jim. Together, it'll be easy.
You're not at all curious about this, Tracy?
I caution you, gentlemen. Don't fight me here. I'll win. Or at worst, I'll drag you down with me.
Ron, all right, bud.
This is the last of the calm places. What is ours again. I plaguely iron nectum flagon, to pep, like for stand.
Unto the republic for which it stands, one nation under God.
You know many of our high worship words. How?
In my land, we have a tribe like you.
Were you cast out?
You're confusing the stars with heaven.
He was cast out.
Oh, Ron, shut up.
Because I speak for him.
Yet you killed many Yangs.
Yeah.
Would a man know your holy words? Could a man use them to trick you?
Ron, what's the play here?
Do the Yang legends describe the servant of the evil one?
Oh, God, they're going to open it up. There'll be a picture that looks identical, and it'll be devil. All righty, well, great, Ron, thanks.
He has no heart.
His heart is different. Internal organs of a Vulcan are...
Bring him.
Oh, hey, Ron, thanks for all of the juicy help you've provided us here. I hope this episode ends with you falling off a cliff. And Morgan Woodward is still absolutely one of my favorites.
He has no heart.
Now, put your head down by my butt and you'll hear it.
But which, if we should kill the good, evil would be among us.
There is a way.
This old hamburger wrapper. It says Carl's Jr.
I will begin. You shall finish.
We the people.
Plenista norco forcam perfectunum.
Those words are familiar. Wait a moment.
He fears to speak them. For indeed, his tongue would burn with fire. Force him. Kill his servant unless he speaks.
Morgan Woodward does imbalance really well. Ooh.
Sacred book promise that good is stronger than evil.
Don't fight, Ron. You've lost twice.
Yes, it is written. Good shall always destroy evil.
It is written.
SAG fulfillment completed. Line.
The fight is done when one is dead.
I've found that evil usually triumphs. Unless good is very, very careful.
Love that line. Come on, Jim. Morgan Woodward's a big dude, though. That's the thing. It's rare you see Jim not be able to get the upper hand in a physical confrontation. I mean, hell, he was even holding his own with Khan, sort of. I like it's a good old, like, WWE strap match.
We gotta do something.
I'm open to suggestions, Doctor.
I am open to suggestions. Nice, Jim.
What are you doing?
I'm making a suggestion.
Really? God, this is a hell of a fight. Spock suggestion. I guess we never see that again. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Nice. Look how he's got him twisted. Nice, Jim. This shit's over. Hell yeah. Sulu coming down.
Leslie, free Dr. McCoy and Mr. Spock. Put Captain Tracy under arrest.
Aye, sir.
Cloud William.
You are a great God's servant. We are your slaves.
That's not how this works.
When you would not say the holy words of the evil Anista, I doubted you.
I did not recognize those words. You said them so badly.
This was not written for chiefs.
It's written for the people.
No words have said this thing of importance in quite this way. We the people, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Bill.
Do not fully understand. One named Kirk. But the holy words will be obeyed. I swear it.
Man, that guy's got a voice. Bill, I love when Bill can show off his chops.
But does our involvement here also constitute a violation of the Prime Directive?
No!
Gentlemen, the fighting is over here. I suggest we leave them to discover their history and their liberty.
Oh, I love it. I don't understand it. And look at that beauty. Love it. Oh, I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Morgan Woodward again, everybody. When you absolutely positively need the best guest star, except no substitute. Friends, we just got done watching the original series, Season 2, Episode 23, The Omega Glory. And the only thing left to do is to talk about it. All right, everybody, we just got done watching the 23rd episode of the second season of Star Trek, the original series, The Omega Glory. I've got a couple questions, and I actually recorded a bit of this, and I realized I was rambling, so I thought, I'm just kind of be a little bit more succinct here. The questions exist, obviously, as to how this entire society came to be. I think we really needed some revelatory information there, like, a probe crashed on the planet eons ago, or, a couple hundred years ago, and it was carrying information about, similar to the, Chicago mobster book, from A Piece of the Action, something that dramatically influenced the culture. That would have been cool. Again, would it have been derivative of earlier episodes? Sure. I mean, the Changeling and A Piece of the Action, stuff like that. But at the same time, we needed to have at least, even if it was a weak derivative kind of reason for this, we needed a reason for this, because having like Old Glory there in its modern incarnation, apparently it looked like that with like the 50 stars. And then to have like what looked like an exact copy of the preamble of the Constitution, there needed to be some context for that. Even if it was like an eye-rolling bit of context where you're like, really? We needed something. And again, I think that was the easier way out. If Gene Roddenberry wrote this, by the way, at the beginning, I missed the fact that they had a different kind of title like positioning, and I missed that Gene Roddenberry wrote this. So we'll have to wait until Q&A to see if sometimes when Gene writes stuff, it's not necessarily Gene that started it. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it at that. We'll see. Omega Glory might be his from tip to tail. We'll see. We'll see. But with this one, we needed, there's nothing more to get from it. We received no information about how they had this entire kind of like American backstop for their history. So we just got to leave it. We just got to say, well, they do somehow, parallel development, blah, 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 or whatever. It's not great. But again, that's the weakest part of the episode, in my opinion, is having that part explained to us, which it wasn't. And so that definitely hurts it as far as like its overall kind of take on it. However, if anything can be saved with, perhaps the main tent pole of the episode not being explored, throw in Vincent McKevity and Morgan Woodward, and you are going to have a banger no matter what. Morgan Woodward is awesome, completely different character and performance from Van Gelder, other than the mania that he was employing it a couple times. But the other thing too that I was it kind of shocked me a little bit was how tall and broad Morgan Woodward was. Because in Dagger of the Mind, as Simon Van Gelder, he was in bed most of the time, lying there being mind melded with Spock. We never got a comparative look at him standing next to everybody else. He's a big guy. He played an excellent character in that Tracy. It was a lot of Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness going on, or Francis Ford Coppola, Apocalypse Now, however you want to look at it, where you have the one person get introduced to a new culture, immediately takes over using whether it be, the better technology or more information or knowledge that, the new culture that they've entered doesn't have, and then they put themselves in a position of prominence to be, sort of like a dictator. And then when somebody from their world or their culture appears, it's automatic problems. You either fold those people over or you got to get rid of them. There's only one Dick in Dictator. And, Simon Van Gelder, dear God, Morgan Woodward played a great role as Ron Tracy, kind of succumbing to all of this. The only thing that I have questions too about Tracy is Tracy didn't necessarily seem like he was, spoiler alert, shocker, he didn't seem like he was all there. He seemed like he had definitely kind of suffered some type of mental break, or his sanity was compromised, to put it lightly. And you could easily say it was the loss of his entire crew. But yes, but there seemed to be a sinister nature to his kind of mania that doesn't explain itself with the loss of his crew, because he was able to kind of approach that subject, and while talk about it like in a somber tone, it wasn't something that wrecked him. You know what I mean? It was just, I can't believe, all my people, 400 plus, are gone. And that begs the question, if Tracy had sort of like this personality beforehand, something like that, if put in a position like this, his personality would go the way that he went. It makes me a little bit concerned for like the vetting process for the chair. If you've got somebody, you would think that like there'd be some type of like psychological mental test, put you in a situation, or even like, just a really good vetting of somebody to realize that maybe Ron Tracy isn't the best person to command a starship. Because damn, it didn't take long for Tracy to be like, I'm in charge of everything now and I'm fighting these new people and the hell with it, immortality. So again, I think my headcanon says that, something more was going on with him, something more had sort of affected him, maybe on planet, or, a mental deterioration of that magnitude doesn't speak like it shouldn't have happened as quickly as it did, I guess. Maybe something was pinged off for that for me, that he turned Joker pretty quick, which is an interesting way that I could only almost answer my own question, because in The Killing Joke, Joker basically tries to make, spoiler alert, tries to make Commissioner Gordon crazy. And the Joker says, hey, I was normal too. It was just one bad day. And so maybe that's what it was. Let's just leave it like that. It was the Joker origin story for Ron Tracy. It was, he had a bad day. But the episode as a whole, I thought, was really fun. It was a really cool adventure. Very limited. I think the only people that we had up top was Uhura and Sulu. We had no Scotty. We had no Chekhov, no Chapel. We were down many people as far as what we normally have as our complement that goes forward. But it was interesting. Sure, there's big questions about Tracy's, stuff, and then the history, the American history that they had there. But it was an interesting parallel, one we've seen explored before. We've seen two warring tribes quite a bit in this season, actually. But the catch-all for this one was kind of the American backdrop on it. The story was, not as strong as I think it would need to be. But like I said, when you throw in a Vincent McKevity and you throw in a Morgan Woodward, you are automatically elevating what might even be considered average material into a higher level, because you're going to get the performance from Morgan Woodward. You're going to get the capture of the performances by Vincent McKevity. And I'm going to say this too. This is one of Bill Shatner's best episodes. He fought his ass off. He was doing hellacious stunts. The dive over the wall is what I'm thinking of right now. The dive, Bill doesn't mind taking a header. He can go Pete Rose over a a brick wall or whatever it is without a second thought. My guy's fearless with that shit. But again, he had that really fantastic delivery of the preamble, at the end, and all eyes on him. The music accompaniment with like, the American ballads and stuff that we had heard kind of sprinkled in there through the score. It was cool, Was it like a top half? I usually say like top half or bottom half just to give myself some wiggle room. I'd say it's right in the middle somewhere. Is it top 10? No. Is it bottom 10? Not that I've seen. It's right in the middle of the pack. And if you're in the middle of the pack with Star Trek, you're a great episode because, there's so many great episodes with Star Trek. And like I said, we've seen it before, but again, anytime I can go to the stars and see another Constitution class ship flying with my beauty, I mean, it checks a lot of boxes just for the fan service, I think, that we were able to get for this one. But there's so many questions we have to answer, my friends, and so many things, especially like, did Gene really write this one? We have to ask for that type of insight. And there's really only a couple people that can help us do, or a couple beings that can help us do this. And one of them has gone into the future, and I don't know when or if we will ever see him again. But there is always one person to count on. There is always one commander that we can look towards for all the answer. And so join me with full throat as we say, General? Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, lover of women, leader of men, best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane, retired. Friends, this is where, after having watched and reacted to an original series episode, I like to dig a little bit deeper and find out what went on behind the cameras. Because, as we've often said, the story behind the cameras of the original series is sometimes just as juicy as the episode they put in front of the cameras. But friends, to keep myself from wandering off into the weeds and talking for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 distinct categories in which to explore. The first of which, writer and director. Who were they? The second, guest stars. Did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the Big Eight, who was present? The fourth, and the juiciest of the categories, production notes. What went on behind the cameras? And last, but certainly not least, my friends, category 5, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's get started. All right, my dear friends, for our first category, writer and director, who were they? Well, some well-known names, at least in these Star Trek parts, as our writer for this episode was none other than Gene Roddenberry. And our director for this episode was my personal favorite, Vincent McKevity. Great team. Let's move on. And now for our second category, my friends, guest stars. Did we have any? Did we ever? One of my all-time favorite guest stars from the original series, Morgan Woodward, appeared as Captain Tracy. We haven't seen him since Dagger of the Mind when he played Simon Van Gelder. Again, another fantastic episode, a different one, very physical in this one, and I loved it quite a bit. And of course, our other guest star that I put down was Roy Jensen. He of the very deep voice, played Cloud William. Great stuff, my friends. Let's move on. And now for the third category, or the core cast of the Big Eight. Who was there? Well, our Big Eight consists of Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Sulu, Scotty, Uhura, and added for season 2 were Chekhov and Chapel. But in this episode, we were down 3, as there were no Scotty, there was no Chekhov, and there was no Chapel. Whew, we're going in the wrong direction. We need to go back up towards the Big Eight. Let's move on. And now, my friends, for our fourth category, production notes. What went on behind the cameras? Was there any drama? Was there any problems? Or was this a smooth shoot? I guess we'll find out. Let's get started. Now, I found this fascinating for our very first production note. This story was written by Gene Roddenberry and was proposed as one of the 3 drafts for the original pilot, actually the reboot pilot for the episode. It was this, the Omega Glory, Mudd's Women, and Where No Man Has Gone Before. So of those 3, I hate to say it, but it's kind of obvious that Where No Man Has Gone Before is the stronger of those 3 episodes. Again, not yucking anybody's yum, but just from my opinion, Where No Man Has Gone Before was great. And it's funny, too, that it turns out that's not the second pilot that was used anyway. That falls to the man trap. So again, all of these questions are basically semantics and just history at this point, since none of these things really came true. But I did think it was interesting that the Omega Glory sat on the shelf for a long time. Let's move on. And now, friends, our second production note kind of builds off of number one in that Gene Roddenberry had this for the Omega Glory script for a very long time. In fact, this was supposed to be something that he really pushed to have in the first season, the top of the first season, way back, first 12 episodes type of things. But whenever it came forward, the NBC didn't like it at all. In fact, they said, there needs to be a complete rework with a lot of the kind of the plot points and things like that were going on. They didn't believe that the story beats were believable. They didn't like the story in general. And they told Gene Roddenberry to shelve it indefinitely. And it wasn't until the second season that Gene Roddenberry really wanted this episode and this script to see the light of day. And despite NBC still having problems with the way that it was done, they finally acquiesced and allowed Gene Roddenberry to put it out. We'll talk about more of how it was received later in production notes. Let's go on. Now for our third production note, and friends, I hate to keep bringing this up, but it seems that there is always a problem whenever Gene Roddenberry's name appears as, the script writer or the story writer or written by. Anytime there's a credit, I always kind of put a mental asterisk beside it because there's usually some problem associated with it. I'll go ahead and explain. You decide whether or not there was a problem. Husband and wife writing team Les and Tina Pine were assigned by Roddenberry to punch up or rewrite or edit or grow the idea that was originally his teleplay of the Omega Glory and put it into an actual shooting script. They did a complete rework and keeping all the main tent poles and things like that and produced it, or not produced it, but, created it and then gave it to Gene Roddenberry. The finished product was not up to the producer standards, but it certainly wasn't up to Roddenberry's standards. And now, friends, I've had conflicting reports on this final point, so I'm going to give it to you and you take it with a grain of salt. Apparently, the idea that the producers collectively had a problem with the script is not true. It was Gene Roddenberry who had a problem with the script, and Gene Roddenberry took it upon himself to do another rewrite of his story that was rewritten by Les and Tina Pine, and then put his name on it. Now, again, grain of salt, everybody, this is just what I found. There was very little difference between Les and Tina Pine's script and what Roddenberry said was punched up and reworked by himself. Now, again, I've heard reports that say that it was completely different and changed and blah, blah, blah. So maybe the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I'll allow you to decide, my friends. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fourth production note, I promised that we'd get back to its reception. And while I'll go right out on a limb and say that I didn't dislike the Omega Glory. I had a lot of problems with, how a couple of those things came about, but we already talked about those things. But I didn't hate the episode. I apparently am in the minority. Because, and usually I use the TV guide of listings that came through for all of this. But again, I couldn't find an excerpt that said where it ranked, and I can't look up the list because then it'll kind of flavor my own mind. I will, however, made a note to go back when I'm all done the original series and see where everything ranked without fear of spoilers and all that great stuff. But I did see something that was put in a note here by Screen Rant. In 2017, Screen Rant listed this episode, The Omega Glory, as the 8th worst episode of Star Trek. Again, it wasn't really well received. And I saw also that it made a lot of top 10 worst lists, so bad it must be seen list types of things. I mean, I didn't hate it. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our final production note, and I thought this one was interesting because they were pretty close together here with By Any Other Name and the Omega Glory. We see inside of this Federation officers reduced to their base components. This is twice in back-to-back episodes where this happened, which you would have thought that they were probably in the production order and things like that. If anything was possible, maybe even put an episode in between the two of them. But they did not. And so we had our dodecahedron, and then we had our base elements and minerals, the little cubes and stuff inside the suits, inside the Omega Glory. So I thought that was an interesting point just because they were so close together, and there would always and forever be an association and comparison between the two. I'm not sure if you want to do that, but they did it, and here we are. Friends, let's move on. And now, friends, for our fifth and final category inside Q&A, a memorable quote from this episode. I decided to take something from McCoy for this one because I think it is very profound and it can be applied to many, many different things. This is when McCoy is speaking to Spock, and McCoy says, "Spock, I've found that evil usually triumphs unless good is very, very careful." A great one, my friends. Thus ends another installment of Q&A. I am off to have more adventure, and until we adventure again, my friends, behave yourselves.